Nations rise, new nations rise, or new age rises, when we start wanting different answers to our questions. The questions that we always ask. Where did I come from? Why am I here? And how can I make so we start looking externally to ourselves where the answers are. And what can happen is people start organizing and saying, well, I know, I got the answer over here, check it out. I know why we're here, I know how we got here, and I know what we're supposed to do here. And then people go, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then what happens is we build a shrine around the truth speaker. And it gets bigger and more people become involved in that, and it becomes an institution. Now that could be anything. It could be anything. It could be healthcare, it could be governments, it could be anything. And what happens is it gets past it. It starts off with excellent principles about taking care of people, right? Looking after people, being a source for people to come to fill up from. That's usually the way it all starts. And then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it needs to sustain itself, and somehow in the way, those needs of looking after people, they get sort of put down to the bottom of the priority list because now we have to pay our bills. So then eventually what happens is people start saying, I don't like your truth anymore. It's not fitting with me anymore. And they start looking elsewhere. What happens is the truth keepers get hard and rigid in wanting to maintain their truth. And nothing in the planet lasts if it's hard and rigid. Nothing. And so those structures start to fall away. And we've seen that on Wall Street about a year ago, didn't we? And we've seen it with other things in our own lifetime. And they start to fall away, and what it does is it makes people very scared. Because what they used to believe in and what they invested in doesn't have a foundation. How can we help this shift? How can we help this shift? We have to get back to our own power, our own truth, don't we? We have to go back into that space and dig from that well and come back into that space. So really what tonight is all about is how can we navigate this dissolution of changing things that's happening, right? We're seeing that. We're seeing that there's a lot of rigid structures that are kind of crumbling and falling and changing. You're seeing it in healthcare, not only in the States, but also within our own country. We're seeing it, governmental agencies and lots of different kinds of institutions are shifting and changing. And we have grown up in a culture and a society where we have bought into giving up our power to those decision makers. And now they're not able to take care of us. And so now we're standing without that power. But we never lost it. That's the neat part about it. We can take it back. And we do that by coming back to our center. So we can trust in a higher power that's going to take care of us. We can trust in our family and our friends are going to be there for us when the chips are down. Trust in that, yes, but take care of yourself. And so that's what finding your center and then returning to peace is really all about. Because when we become dependent on people, what happens is we get disappointed. And when we get disappointed, we are disempowered. Haha, yeah, here you go again. You're always late, Brenda. It doesn't matter. You can get up at 3 a.m., but you're always late. Or do we just exclaim, pound the steering wheel, kick the tires, say to others? Okay, you don't want to share? Busy. Don't have time for this. You know, I hear that with my sister and her kids, right? I don't have time for this. The kids just do what they do, right? You know, 6 years old, 5 years old, it's time to throw a tantrum. I don't care. I've been passing around this emotion long enough. I'm going to throw a tantrum right here, right now. And Mom says, I don't have time for this. Which is probably the truth, but I just need to get through this. Can you imagine if we thought that that's what we signed on for when we accepted this life? Well, your mantra is going to be that you're just going to get through it. That's your mission. Can you imagine how excited we would have been? Oh, good! Oh, yeah! Awesome! And we go to bed at night thinking, whew, mission accomplished. I got through that day. Only 650,000 more to go. Whatever. I didn't do my math.
Guru Brahma
We go into our heads. We feel like, come on. This brain is supposed to be magnificent. Pull me out of this, right? It's just like, and there's this pain and this frustration and this overwhelm, right? And there's many things that we're feeling. And we're feeling overwhelmed. It's like Tammy said, there's so many things coming at us, and we have our fingers in every little bit of it, and what ends up happening at the end of the day, we don't accomplish anything, but we're pretty darn scattered. You know? And I know that for me too. And one of the things that I like to remind people to do is when you have a moment to stop and do some mindful breathing, when you inhale, bring back the scattered bits of yourself that are still invested in conversations, in unfinished business, in things that didn't go your way. Bring them back. Let them go. Let that picture fade into the black and bring yourself back to the present moment. And sometimes we forget to do that. We forget that we can do that. And so we live. What would be the elixir of life so that we could enjoy happiness as much as possible? And I believe that to be empowerment. I believe that to be teaching people what they know, what you know, so that they can be empowered, so that they can find their center themselves. This is my vision for the world, that we would all have that idea, that we would all be generous with our knowledge, that we would all be generous with our healing gifts, that we would all be generous with our secrets, so that people would be empowered and they would still come and want to be part of your space because it was the experience that you provided. That is my new mission.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to begin with me. That's going to begin with me because I can't change anyone. But I can change me and I can change my attitude. So that's my new attitude. I got a new attitude. I think it's really dangerous when we put all of our health and all of our wellness into the basket, into the hands of someone else, and we say, here, you fix me and you take care of me. I'm going to come to you for guidance and for the experience, but I am ultimately an advocate for myself and my own health. And I think that goes for anything. It goes for needing that cup of coffee from Starbucks in the morning, right? You know, and we're depending on it, and we just have this little beautiful picture in our mind of us driving to work without any interruptions and parking really close to the doors at Safeway and walking in and seeing doves being released as we walk towards the
lineup. No lineup there.
No lineup. There's just tumbleweeds blowing in the wind because there's nobody around. And the girl at the counter has got your coffee ready for you because she's seen you coming from 2 blocks away. And so we begin to depend on this. And then when it's not there, what happens?